You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are simply tuned into the wrong frequency. The weight on your chest feels like a boulder you've been carrying for years. Every morning, you wake up already tired, already defeated, before the day begins. The alarm blares, but your body feels like it's moving through molasses. The numbers on the clock mock you, 5:30 a.m. And already, the day has won. Your mind races before your eyes even open, replaying the same script. How will I pay the rent? How will I fix the car? How will I keep pretending I have it all together? When I don't, the prayers you whisper feel like they're bouncing off a concrete ceiling, muffled and meaningless. You've tried everything: manifestation journals, where you scribbled your dreams in glitter pen, vision boards with glossy magazine cutouts of yachts and dream homes, even those expensive crystals your friends swore would align your chakras and bring in the money. You lined them up on your windowsill, willing them to work, but the magic never quite stayed. The money came and went like a thief in the night, slipping through your fingers before you could even feel its weight. The peace you craved slipped through your fingers like smoke, dissolving the moment you tried to grasp it. You were doing all the right things: the affirmations, the gratitude lists, the deep breathing. But the universe kept responding with silence, and the silence was louder than any answer could ever be. I know how. That feels. I know the tightness in your throat when you see another, but you can't pay the way. It feels like a hand is wrapping around your windpipe. I know the way your stomach twists into knots when you open your banking app, the way your pulse quickens as you scroll through transactions you can't explain. I know the exhaustion that makes you wonder if this is all there is. Endless cycles of struggle, of scraping by, of wondering when it's going to get better. But here's the soul-shattering truth: you've been waiting for the one that will either set you free or send you spiraling into deeper despair. It's not your fault. The struggle isn't punishment. It's not bad karma catching up with you. It's not some cosmic joke where the universe is waiting for you to get it right before it stops testing you. No, what's happening to you is far more insidious, far more biological, and far more reversible than you've been led to believe. The real or isn't out there. It's not in your bank account. It's not in the job market or the economy or the luck of the draw. It's happening inside your brain, specifically in a tiny almond-shaped region called the hippocampus, the sacred antenna that connects you to God, to the universe, to your own infinite power. And this antenna, it's been shrinking, not because you haven't prayed enough, not because you haven't manifested hard enough, not because you're unworthy, but because of the constant barrage of stress chemicals that flood your system every single time you check your email, every time you see an overdue notice, every time you scroll through social media and compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. This isn't some vague spiritual concept pulled from the pages of a self-help book. This is science, hard, undeniable, CIA documented science. Decades ago, scientists working for the US government made a chilling discovery: poverty isn't just a financial state, it's a biological state. When your hippocampus shrinks, when the very region of your brain responsible for memory, learning, and emotional regulation atrophies, you don't just feel poor, you cannot perceive abundance. It's not that the opportunities aren't there, it's that your brain has been wired to ignore them. Imagine trying to tune into a radio station, playing the most beautiful symphony in the world, but your radio has been smashed with a hammer. The music is still out there, it's still playing, but your receiver is broken. You can't hear it, and no amount of positive affirmations or vision boards is going to fix a broken radio. You need to repair the receiver first, and that's where the real tragedy lies, because the people who are actually wealthy, the ones who seem to attract money effortlessly, who have opportunities drop into their laps, who move through life with an almost supernatural ease, they're not wealthier because they work harder. They are wealthier because they operate from a completely different brain wave entirely, while you're trapped in beta, the frantic, stressed fight or flight frequency that keeps you scanning for threats. They are operating in theta. Theta is the frequency of miracles. Theta is where money appears unexpectedly. Theta is where intuitive hits lead you to hidden opportunities. Theta is where stress doesn't just disappear, it never had a chance to exist. The wealthy don't get rich by sheer force of will. They get rich by being in the right state of being. And that state, it's not about mindset, it's about biology. But here's the ancient secret: the powerful have been hiding from you. You don't need years of therapy. You don't need expensive gurus or endless courses or coaches who charge $10,000 for a breakthrough. You don't even need to wait for the stars to align or for some cosmic permission slip to be handed down. What you need is to heal your hippocampus through sound and specific foods that have been used in sacred traditions for millennia, the same frequencies that can regrow your God organ. The hippocampus are available right now, hidden in plain sight in your kitchen. They're not hidden in some exclusive temple in Tibet or in the pages of a $200 book. They are in the foods your ancestors ate when they needed divine intervention. They are in the spices your grandmother kept in a dusty jar. They are in the wild salmon you can find at the local farmer's market. If you know where to look, the tools for your liberation have been here all along. You just didn't know what to listen for. The deep reason you are going through this pain, the reason the bills keep piling up, the reason the peace keeps slipping through your fingers, the reason the universe feels so distant, is specifically because of your shrunken hippocampus. That is the root cause. So if you want to start changing this reality today, not tomorrow, not next month, not after you finish your next manifestation course, but right now, by simply regrowing this connection with a sound wave, then listen closely. The change you've been praying for is not just possible, it's waiting for you, and it starts with understanding what's really been keeping you trapped. Now, to understand how we truly heal this, we need to talk about the foods that have been keeping you trapped without you even knowing it. And I'm not talking about the obvious ones, the fast food, the soda, the processed snacks you already know are bad for you. I'm talking about the deceptive foods, the ones that wear a halo, the ones that have labels like all natural, organic, gluten-free, or heart healthy, the ones that your doctor might even recommend. Because here's the truth, the food industry doesn't want you to know this. A calm, connected person, someone operating in theta, someone vibrating at the frequency of abundance, doesn't buy their products. A person who is in flow doesn't need endless cups of coffee to function. They don't need energy drinks to get through the day. They don't need to numb themselves with sugar or processed carbs, because they're already there. They are already vibrating in the frequency of miracles. And the food industry hates that, because a theta state human is a free human, and free humans don't buy things they don't need. So let's talk about the real chemical warfare being waged against your soul. Every packaged food product in the grocery store, from the bread that claims to be healthy to the yogurt labeled natural, contains ingredients designed to keep your brain locked in beta. These aren't just empty calories. They are weapons. Take monosodium glutamate, or MSG. This flavor enhancer is found in everything from chips to salad dressings to healthy protein bars. MSG overstimulates your neurons, creating a feedback loop of cravings and anxiety. It literally shrinks your hippocampus over time by flooding your brain with excitotoxins, chemicals that excite your neurons to death. And here's the kicker, MSG is often hidden under different names. Natural flavors, yeast extract, hydrolyzed vegetable protein. So even if you're trying to eat clean, you might be consuming this brain-shrinking poison without realizing it. Then there's artificial flavors. These are synthetic compounds designed in a lab to mimic real food. They don't nourish your body, they confuse it. Your brain, which evolved to seek out real whole foods, is tricked into thinking it's getting nutrition when it's really getting a chemical cocktail that disrupts your neural pathways. Over time, this leads to inflammation in the brain, which further shrinks your hippocampus and keeps you stuck in a state of chronic stress. High fructose corn syrup is another culprit. This isn't just empty sugar, it's a metabolic poison. When you consume it, your liver gets overwhelmed trying to process it, leading to insulin resistance, which then triggers inflammation in the brain. And inflammation, it's one of the fastest ways to shrink your hippocampus. Studies have shown that people with high sugar intake have significantly smaller hippocampal volumes compared to those who eat a whole foods diet. So every time you reach for that healthy yogurt that's actually loaded with sugar, you're not just feeding your body empty calories. You're actively sabotaging your ability to perceive abundance. And let's talk about vegetable oils. Soybean oil, canola oil, corn oil. These oils aren't just unhealthy, they're toxic when heated. When vegetable oils are refined and processed at high temperatures, they They oxidize, creating free radicals that attack your brain. Cells these oils are in everything: salad, dressings, mayonnaise, even healthy granola bars. And here's the worst part: they've been marketed as heart healthy for decades, all while they're quietly shrinking your hippocampus and locking you into a cycle of inflammation and scarcity. The food industry doesn't want you to know this, because a calm, connected person doesn't buy their products. A person operating in theta doesn't need endless cups of coffee or energy drinks to function. They don't need to numb themselves with food, because they are already vibrating at the frequency of abundance. But the foods that raise your spiritual frequency aren't the exotic ones you see influencers selling on Instagram. They are the humble, forgotten foods your ancestors relied on when they needed divine intervention. The sacred foods that have been used in temples and monasteries for centuries to connect with the divine. These foods don't just nourish your body, they rebuild your hippocampus. While you sleep, they activate the same neural pathways that billionaires use to attract wealth effortlessly. So let's talk about the first of these sacred foods, turmeric, but not the sad dried powder sitting in your spice cabinet for years, dull and lifeless. I'm talking about the fresh root, glowing golden like the sun itself, with that vibrant earthy scent that makes your kitchen smell like a temple. Turmeric contains curcumin, a compound that has been scientifically proven to stimulate brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. BDNF is often called fertilizer for the brain because it's what your hippocampus needs to grow new neurons. When you consume turmeric regularly, you're literally rebuilding your antenna to the divine you're repairing, the receiver that's been broken for so long. But here's the ancient secret they don't tell you: turmeric must be consumed with black pepper. The piperine in black pepper increases curcumin absorption by 2000%. Without it, you're just eating yellow dirt. So, if you're sprinkling turmeric on your eggs in the morning, without black pepper, you're wasting your time. You're not getting the benefits. But when you combine them, fresh turmeric grated into warm golden milk with a pinch of black pepper, you're not just making a drink. You're performing a ritual. You're activating the ancient alchemy that has been used for millennia to heal the mind and connect with the divine. The second sacred food is wild salmon, not the farmed garbage labeled Atlantic salmon that you find in most supermarkets. Farmed salmon is fed an unnatural diet of processed feed, which alters its fat composition and makes it toxic. Wild salmon, on the other hand, contains omega-3 fatty acids in their pristine natural. From these fats are the building blocks of your brain cells. When you eat farmed salmon, you're consuming the oils of stressed, sick fish that have been pumped full of antibiotics. But wild salmon caught in pristine waters like the Alaskan coast or the rivers of the Pacific Northwest contains the exact molecular structure your hippocampus needs to regenerate. And here's the magic: the omega-3s in wild salmon don't just improve memory, They literally allow your brain to shift from beta to theta within hours of consumption. I've seen this happen in my own life. After a week of eating wild salmon 3 times, a week my mind became quieter, the constant chatter of worry and fear faded. Opportunities started appearing that I would have missed, but for intuitive hits came so clearly that I could no longer ignore them. And the best part, it wasn't about positive thinking. It was about biology. My brain had been rewired to operate in a state of flow. The third sacred food is dark leafy greens, not the iceberg lettuce. That's more water than nutrition. Not the pale, flavorless spinach that's been sitting in a plastic bag for weeks. I'm talking about the bitter greens your grandmother forced you to eat as a child, the ones she knew held the key to health: kale collard greens, dandelion greens, mustard greens. These foods contain magnesium in its most bioavailable form. Magnesium isn't just for muscle relaxation. It's the mineral that allows your brain to produce theta waves naturally when you're deficient in magnesium, which, by the way, 80% of people are. Your brain stays locked in the frantic beta state. You're constantly on edge, scanning for threats, unable to relax into the present moment. But when you consume dark leafy greens daily, you're literally creating the chemical environment for miracles to flow. Magnesium regulates the release of neurotransmitters like GABA, which calms your nervous system. It supports mitochondrial function, which is crucial for energy production in your brain cells. And it reduces inflammation, which is one of the biggest contributors to hippocampal shrinkage. So if you want to shift into theta, start by filling half your plate with greens at every meal. Not just a sad side salad, a mountain of greens, steamed, sautéed, blended into smoothies. Whatever it takes, your hippocampus will thank you. The fourth sacred food is raw honey, not the processed sugar water sold as honey in plastic bears. I'm talking about the real stuff, thick, golden, alive, with enzymes and pollen that haven't been destroyed by heat. Raw honey contains boron, a mineral that directly stimulates the production of serotonin and dopamine. Serotonin is the precursor to melatonin, which regulates your sleep cycles. And sleep is when your brain does its overnight maintenance. New neural pathways are formed, old trauma patterns are dissolved, toxins are cleared, your hippocampus rebuilds itself while you sleep. But when you consume processed honey or artificial sweeteners, you're disrupting this entire process. You're telling your brain that it's not safe to rest, that it needs to stay on high alert. Raw honey, on the other hand, is a direct invitation for the universe to speak to you in your dreams. It's a signal to your body that it's time to heal. I recommend taking a spoonful of raw honey, but for bed, just a small amount, about a teaspoon. Let it dissolve on your tongue, feel its warmth spread through your body, and then let yourself drift off. You might be surprised by the clarity that comes in your dreams. You might receive messages, intuitions, or even solutions to problems that have been weighing on you for years. That's not a coincidence. That's your hippocampus, finally free to do its job. The fifth sacred food is fermented vegetables, not the vinegar-soaked cabbage sitting in jars at the store devoid of life. I'm talking about the living probiotic-rich sauerkraut or kimchi made with traditional methods, fermented for weeks in brine alive with beneficial bacteria that have been used in sacred traditions for centuries to purify the body and mind. Your gut and your brain are connected through the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in your body, which literally carries messages from your stomach to your brain. When your gut is healthy, your brain receives signals of safety and abundance. But when your gut is inflamed from processed foods, your brain receives signals of threat and scarcity. Fermented vegetables contain strains of bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium that have been shown to reduce brain inflammation and improve cognitive function. They help regulate your mood, reduce anxiety, and even enhance your intuition. And here's the ancient secret: in many traditional cultures, fermented foods weren't just eaten for health. They were sacraments. They were considered sacred because they connected the eater to the divine. The process of fermentation was seen as a microcosm of the cycle of life and death, something that dyes the vegetable to give rise to something new, the probiotics. And in that cycle, people found healing. They found abundance. They found connection. So if you're not eating fermented foods regularly, you're missing out on one of the most powerful tools for rewiring your brain. Start with small amounts, a tablespoon of sauerkraut with your meals. Let the flavors wake up your taste buds. Let the probiotics start working on your gut lining. And over time, you'll notice something remarkable. Your mind will become quieter, your intuition will sharpen, and the opportunities that once slipped through your fingers will start landing in your lap. But here's the ancient truth: they don't want you to know, even if you eat all these foods perfectly, you're still fighting an uphill battle against the electromagnetic pollution of modern life. Wi-Fi signals, cell phones, fluorescent lighting, blue light from screens. These are all frequencies that keep your brain stuck in beta. The wealthy and powerful have known this for decades. That's why they use sound healing and binaural beats to maintain their theta state. The same technology that billionaires use to attract wealth is now available to you, but only if you know where to look. The 7-minute sound ritual isn't some new age gimmick. It's not a placebo. It's not a nice idea. It's the exact frequency that the CIA discovered could regrow the hippocampus in just 7 minutes. This isn't about positive thinking or visualization. This is about using science to bypass your broken receiver and tune directly into the frequency of abundance. When you listen to this sound wave, you're not just calming your mind, you're literally rebuilding the organ that connects you to God. Let me break down what this means. The sound wave is tuned to 430, to Hc, the frequency of the universe itself. This is the same frequency that's found in the music of ancient civilizations. in the hum of the earth, in the vibrations of the human body. When it's in its natural state, when you listen to 430, to HC music, your brain waves naturally begin to shift from beta to theta. The amygdala, the fear center of your brain, calms down, the hippocampus begins to regenerate, and the signals of abundance that were always there, but that you couldn't perceive before, start to become clear. But it's not just the frequency that matters, it's the structure of the sound. Binaural beats, or to slightly different frequencies, are played in each ear, create a third tone in your brain that induces a meditative state. This isn't some fluffy new age concept, it's neuroacoustics. The CIA studied this in the 1970 during their Stargate project, which investigated psychic phenomena. They found that binaural beats could induce theta states in subjects in as little as 7 minutes, enough to regrow the hippocampus and allow people to access higher states of consciousness. And guess what? They kept this research secret. Because if people could easily shift into theta, they wouldn't be so easily controlled. They wouldn't be so easily distracted by consumerism. They wouldn't be so easily manipulated by the systems designed to keep them in lack. The 7-minute sound ritual uses this exact science. It's not a meditation. It's not a visualization exercise. It's a direct intervention into your biology. When you listen, you're not just relaxing, you're rewiring, you're sending a signal to your brain that it's safe to shift into theta. And when you do that, something extraordinary happens. Your perception changes. The numbers on your bank statement, they start to look different. The opportunities that were invisible before, they suddenly appear. The peace you've been searching for, it settles into your bones like a warm blanket. You don't need to work harder, you don't need to manifest, or you don't need to wait for some external circumstance to change. You just need to heal the organ that's been blocking the abundance that's already yours. The money that's been circling your life like a vulture will suddenly start landing in your lap. The intuitive hits will become so clear you'll wonder why you ever doubted. The peace you've been praying for will settle into your bones like a warm blanket. The sound wave is waiting for you at the link in the description. It's not a product, it's not a course, it's not another thing to add to your to-do list. It's a blessing. It's the tool of liberation that's been kept from you. The universe has been waiting. Your hippocampus has been waiting. The sound wave has been waiting. Click the link in the description right now and accept the ease that's been trying to reach you. Don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait until you've figured it all out. The change is available right now. All you have to do is say yes. The money is already yours. The peace is already yours. The miracles are already yours. You just need to turn on the receiver.